Hey guys, my name's Chad Corbett. I'm the founder of Magnum Opus Project, Probate Mastery, and other courses. And I'm happy to be here today with one of our partner course creators, Aaron Velky. Welcome, Aaron.
Dude, great to be here, Chad.
So this is the first time we've done this, and I'm very excited to be doing this with Aaron as the first kind of co-creator. One of the things that Aaron and I really bonded on, like where we clicked together when we first got to know each other, was really that big why of wanting to help people establish a better relationship with money and learn to use it as a tool, not as an excuse, not as, not as something that works against them, but something that works for them. And we've been very fortunate to, have learned some of these lessons early in life, and where we both feel very, very passionate about teaching others. So for me, creating real estate courses and very specific niche courses, this is part of the, money is a part of the conversation, obviously, all the time, because we're running businesses. However, I'm so into that conversation, into real estate communities, I haven't taken the time to actually create that basic foundational, how do you get to your first $1 million, financial course. So Aaron is a friend of mine, a course creator, a serial entrepreneur. We're in mastermind groups together. He's a leader in this space, and someone that I'm really proud to introduce that is more than, has more than the credentials required to help somebody really build wealth and find their way to their first million. And it's not necessarily a real estate course, but Aaron is a real estate investor. He talks the language that we talk. So I believe it's a very complimentary course to the people who are in this community, especially if you haven't crossed. You guys hear me talk about accredited investments and private equity and syndications and all these things, that if you haven't become an accredited investor, if you don't have $1 million net worth, you don't have reach into those. And so it's very important to me that as many people in my community as possible can kind of break through that. Because in my personal story, when I broke through the first million, everything just became kind of fun and easy. And if you're not there, if that pissed you off, like, I'll challenge you to examine what that emotional response was. If you hear about somebody else's wealth and you become defensive or judgmental, you probably need this course more than anyone, because your mindset around money sucks. And it's unfortunate. Like, I've been there. I came from very modest beginnings, but when I learned to think about money differently, I learned to receive it and to grow it differently. And then from there, like, once I passed, it's unfortunate in this country, like, until you get to accredited status, all the best things, all the easiest ways to build wealth aren't available to you. And for people like us to try to offer them to you, it comes with a hell of a lot of risk for anyone to offer anything to a non-accredited investor. So we both had to fight the same fight and get to $1 million. And I think Aaron would agree, like, once you pass that million, a whole new world opens up. So for me, the reason I'm fully behind this and trying to say everyone in this community should take this course if you're not already an accredited investor, because I know how much easier life will get, how much easier wealth will get, how much your lifestyle can improve, and how little you have to work to actually make the same money you're making right now when you have access to accredited investments. So personally, that's what, and I know Aaron's vision is much bigger than that, but as far as in this community, like, what I can do for you guys, I want as many of you to be accredited as possible, because we've got really exciting conversations happening around that. So I would say that, like, if you're not already an accredited investor, if you don't have $1 million net worth, I haven't been able to find any other course that approaches this in a better way, and the way it's taught and the community that's around it. So that's why Aaron is here. And I'm going to take a step back, let him introduce himself. And Aaron, I'm sure everybody's curious to hear, what your story is, what brought you here, what the course is all about, but most importantly, what's the result that the students and the graduates of the course get.
Yeah. Well, Chad, I appreciate such an amazing intro and a heartfelt one. Our alignment is on providing stairs. And what's fascinating around the conversation of wealth is that it's often observed as like a really distant achievement or accolade, rather than a series of processes. And that process often includes getting incredibly educated, and the way that I like to think about it, being very courageous. You have to make some moves. You have to invest. You have to take action. And with education comes the clarity. So courage and clarity are the two things that I've lately been saying a lot to the people in my ecosystem that will help you create change. And most often, the conversation of wealth is also abstract. There's a lot of different ways to get there. There's a lot of shiny objects. It's daunting. It can feel overwhelming. And I've been in this space of financial education for about 8 years. Started working with kids, and that was a really awesome introduction. It taught me two major principles. We used to run this game. It was like we made a sport out of money. And to do that, to get kids excited and to get them to like get in and get engaged, we had to make it really simple. Could you teach it to a fifth grader? And there's a really awesome quote. It's been attributed to Einstein. The quote is essentially, if you can't explain it to a fifth grader, you don't understand it. And it was a really good challenge for us to really break it down. So simplicity was one. And then the second thing, working with kids, it had to be fun. It had to be engaging to some regard. Like I've been in all those workshops that many of you have been a part of, where you're asleep in 5 minutes, you wake up, you didn't learn, you didn't engage, and it just feels disconnected. So it started there and has grown. And we've been able to work with so many individuals and see them evolve and change and answer their questions along the way, which is part of the journey. Like your stairs change. And my commitment and the team, we've got a really awesome team at Money Club. The team, we've been really committed to a couple principles, one of which is let's document our journey, because we're on the journey too. Like we're walking in these footsteps and these footpaths as well. And then let's go find others that we can provide access to, that we can document their story, we can take their expertise. And we've been able to create a formula that I feel is often missing. When people are clear, when you are clear on, I'm going to do this, I'm going to change my family, I'm going to change my life, I'm going to make that adjustment, I'm going to be courageous and clear, you end up looking for, well, now what? How? And to get to the other side of that, where you can do what you've mentioned, where it becomes a bit more seamless and smooth, you've got to find the formula there. And I don't tout that it's the only one. It's just an effective one. And we've really found an ethos and an emotional place and a vision to help people craft their own vision for their staircase and that accolade of that accreditation.
I think a staircase it's a good metaphor because, I'll start and go backwards. I mean, just recently, a friend and I were, and again, I'll caution you, if you pull back on this statement, you probably need this course more than anyone, but I recently wired $500,000 and didn't bat an eye. I literally I called the bank. I'm like, hey, send this. I've gotten underwriting exceptions where I can wire $500,000 without even being there in person. And I've had to get my daily limits raised above $500,000 because I'm now managing an investment club full of accredited investors. I'm playing at this level. And I sometimes have to stop and remind myself how many of those steps that you reference I had to take to get here. But I will say I took all those in 5 years. It can happen very fast when you get your mindset right around money. So in order to do that, I had to get to a point where I even had $500,000. In order to do that, I had to get to an accredited investor status. In order to do that, I had to bust my ass and build a real estate company. In order to do that, I had to learn all this other stuff. In order to do that, I had to learn to save money so I could actually quit my job and start a business. In order to do that, I had to build a career and master that and make enough money that I could save. And like, I can take that backwards all the way to being a farm boy at 7 years old, picking up beer cans out of the ditch and taking them to the grocery store every other Saturday morning to sell them for a few bucks. But that started with a fight with my mother, who said, no 7-year-old needs a bank account. And I pulled out a Cub Scout popcorn can with like $378 in cash and like mainly ones, fives, and change. And she was like, where did you get that? I'm like, I made it. I earned it. And I had like for, I don't know, I mean, months and months, I had been doing anything I could do to get, to make some money. And I had to actually have a confrontation with my mother because she was embarrassed other people in a small community would find out that her kid had a checkbook. And we overcame that. I got a Bart Simpson checkbook, which I wish I could find. I know it's still got to be somewhere in a box somewhere, but I have this Bart Simpson checkbook from when I was in first grade. And I was the coolest first grader in school too. I'm like, let me write my own lunch check. But that was the start for me. Like that's where something clicked, and I started thinking about money differently. But for me to get to a point where I thought like an accredited investor, where I thought like a financial instructor, where I could actually usefully convey that and motivate other people, it was a long journey. It didn't just happen overnight. It wasn't handed to me either. It was hard fought. Like you are conditioned to think about money a certain way. Most people are conditioned to not talk about it. And Aaron and I are in masterminds where we encourage open communication around money because we realize how big of a deal just any limited mindset around wealth creation is. Like it's, and you're all hear me talk about Pareto's principle. I would say that the mindset around money is 80% of creating wealth, and the activity is 20%. And you choose what your activity is. No one's trying to tell you to go get an MBA or you have to be an attorney or a doctor. It doesn't matter. Your income level is not even as important as you think it is. Your mindset is what's most important. And that mindset will help guide the habits around money. Around not spending money is one of the biggest, most important steps I took early in my journey, was learning to save money, not spend money. And Aaron, I don't know if you guys use do you use the 2 marshmallow test? Do you guys talk about that? And
No,
you're familiar with it?
I've heard it before. It might be good to recap here though.
So it's a long running test that psychologists have done on young children. And between the age of 3 and 5, you can determine who will easily become a wealthy person versus who will have to fight like hell for it. So the way you administer the test is pretty simple. You take a child, put them in a room and say, hey, Aaron, little 5-year-old Aaron, would you like a marshmallow? Well, of course, right? The answer is going to be yes. But before the marshmallow is given, it's like, okay, so obviously we've established the demand, right? Let me give you an option now. So instead of you having this marshmallow now, I'll give you 2 marshmallows. How's that sound? That's even better. Okay, the 2 marshmallows will be available tomorrow. Would you want this marshmallow or do you want 2 of them tomorrow? And their answer, and this is an ongoing study that's happened for decades. It's still going on, but the answer is very indicative. If that's instant gratification, 1 marshmallow is the reaction, that person is likely to have a struggle in life. They're likely to be an employee. If they say, I'll wait for tomorrow to get 2, then it's very likely their mindset is already different. They're willing to delay gratification to get more. And that's something you touched on earlier. That's what really that first step for me was. As a child, I noticed I had more of a habit of accumulating money than I got more dopamine from accumulating money than I did from spending money. And most other people get their dopamine hit from shopping, from spending the money. Where for me, every time I see that account balance rise, I'm like, whew, thanks, pituitary gland. I get that little shot of dopamine and oxytocin, right? And that's something I noticed about myself early on and the people I've coached, the ones who are willing to delay gratification. And if you scale that 2 marshmallow test up into real life, I mean, come on, we're in America. The people that look rich are usually flat broke, because they have lots and lots of things and lots of debt. Now, it's not to say everyone who's driving a Ferrari didn't pay, is in debt, but the vast majority of them financed it. And that took them further away from wealth than closer to wealth. And that was that was probably a 1 marshmallow kid. They found a way to get their using debt. It's like, well, what if I issued debt and you give me 2 marshmallows now, and then I owe you 4 marshmallows tomorrow? Well, it doesn't make a whole lot of damn sense, but that's how some people are thinking about money. And that's what our society, our monetary system is built on monetary inflation. And I don't mean the cost of goods rising. That's the result of the true definition of inflation, which is the inflation of available money in an economy. But in order for that system to work, we have to have a bunch of one marshmallow kids. We have to teach them to build traps for themselves and literally fabricate their own golden handcuffs, whether that's in the form of a job or what a lot of people call business, which is just really shitty self-employment. So anyways, I'll jump off my soapbox, but that's part of my story and my, like, the mindset around this is what's most important. And I haven't taken your whole course, I'll admit. I have gone through the curriculum and I've watched, snippets of it. I wish I had time to finish the whole thing and take it as a student, but I've seen enough. Like it's what I believe is needed. It's a different perspective around finance and around wealth creation. And the other thing is the community that comes with it. So a safe environment where you can have this discussion openly, not have to worry about saying, hey, I just crossed $1 million, and people celebrate that instead of criticize you, which tends to happen in the communities we live in, right?
Yeah, you brought up some really awesome points. Mindset's absolutely critical. And, a question I've been asked and asked when I was younger was, how do you change that? And if you're tuned in and you're like, man, I hear this, I just don't know where to start. This is the start, right? It's really letting, like, it's almost like standing in the middle of the ocean and letting the waves just crash over you over and over and over. That's information, that's people, that's vision and some kind of steering. It's mentors, it's guidance, it's a community, it's all of those things that helps you start to steer the boat in a new direction. And boats don't turn, especially big boats, they don't turn very fast. And what is interesting about the narrative of wealth is often projected as happiness, right? And the challenge that we like to present in a healthy way is that wealth can only connect to happiness if you're clear on why and how. If wealth is more time with family, wealth will help you be more happy because you're clear on what the wealth provides, the provision of wealth. If wealth is, maybe it's travel. Like I've gotten to travel the whole world by leveraging credit cards and learning how to travel hack, one of our other courses that, that opened up not just seeing the world. That's one takeaway. It opened up me to culture and differences and people and ideas. And that is very different than a lavish lifestyle. Like the places I went, I didn't need anything. I played soccer in Costa Rica on a beach with a pair of shorts on. It's all I had. It was like, it's a very different way of looking at things. And this idea of very whole life wealth is different than the opulence that we are often projected on. And when you start to build your way there, you recognize that the marshmallow test is largely about behavior and about the sequencing of steps. And most individuals will understand the steps. Your job, tuned in here, is to take the steps. That's what this community is here for. The behaviors underlie a lot of this. Delayed gratification is one of those. The piece of this that gets me very heated is that the function that most people live under for wealth creation is largely broken. We break down wealth this way: 4 parts, really, really critical. And this is essentially the skeletal system of the course. The first thing you got to have is a vision. So I'm going to set that to the side. You need a vision of what that looks like, your values, what it is you want. That's your North Star. And you're going to need a clear understanding of where you are, your current financial position, and what that vision is. That's like a GPS, right? Where do you want to go and where are you now? The spinal column, though, is 4 pieces. You need investable income. That's very different than income. If you make 400 grand a year and you spend 400 grand a year, you don't have any investable income. So you need investable income. The next thing you need is assets. You need to acquire assets. And then the 2 backbones are leverage and time. And that's our formula. And that's what the entire course is predicated on, is really getting a degree of understanding in each of those categories and developing, I wouldn't say mastery, developing towards mastery of how each of those work, what is best for you. Not everyone needs to have the same formula. Those are, we call those the 4 wisdoms of wealth. They're different for every person based on the vision. So if someone says, this matters to me, I really want more time with my family, I don't need a 7,400 square foot penthouse to be happy, I just want time. That's a very different equation than some of the other pathways. Different assets, different leverage, and maybe a shorter time frame than someone that says that's a priority for me. I want to, have a empire. Very different strategies. And what is interesting about the marshmallow test connected to this is that most of what's pronounced in loud, and in my opinion, a massive failure across any educational resource, is that wealth is often projected tomorrow, not in the next decade. It will take you time. It's just a matter of, can you take the right steps? And if you take the right steps and you get on the right staircase, you can trust the pathway there, whether it takes you a year, 5 years, or 10 years. Like, I'm educated enough to consistently walk the path, just like you would at fitness is a great example. If you go to the gym, you walk a lot, you eat right, you move, take care of yourself, you sleep, you drink water. You don't need to give it a whole lot of thought. You don't need to wake up and map out every step you're going to take. You know that the baseline actions will take you to the output that you want. And we've worked really hard to prepare a survey course so that someone can get familiar with various different asset classes, various different income strategies, understand leverage, not just money, leverage of time, leverage of people through delegation, through assembling a team, and then understand the responsibility they have with their time management and the role of time in compounding to prepare them to take this thing to the next level. And they get to build a map. Not many people in what I've seen in education can give someone a map. And I would love to have had me in my world. And that's the responsibility that I and the entire Money Club team really want to bear. No one gave us a map. Wow, what a gift it would be if I had that. And that's part of my legacy, is to give that to other people.
That's awesome. Great summary. So you mentioned your team. Let's talk about who is Money Club. You are Money Club. Who is Money Club?
Well, it's an awesome question, because our website is We Are Money Club. And I love that that's our website. Our director of education, Gabe Bustos, is well-versed in not only education and formulating the curriculum. He's a musician, he's an entrepreneur, a social entrepreneur, just a creative at heart. Our director, our COO, Josh Massey, is like a systems ninja who creates all these amazing tools. Like when you go through the course, there's tools to help you build those stairs. We've got an amazing team of support behind that. A woman named Liana, who does our graphics, our video editing, some of our social media. We've got a great community manager named Marty, an ambassador named Lena, who's helping us with our employee wellness side of the business, and several others that are mentors, investors that are my mentors, that are related to copy. A woman named Julia helps us with our copy. Like, we've basically taken a superstar basketball team to build the education, and then gone out to the experts in various different fields, a guy named Ben Lyons, a guy named Jay Dackman, a guy named David Warnock, a guy named Jeff Cherry. And like, there are superstars like the Hall of Famers that we can say, hey, teach us so we can teach it down. And we've created a movement out of financial education that now exists in the community and through this kind of course that's introductory and really designed to lift someone. And then we go to employers, we bring it to various different businesses as an employee benefit, and we're seeing families change. Like, the coolest part about this for me is when someone called and said, I didn't know this was possible, and look what's happened to date, and now look where I can go from here. And dude, that's why I'm doing this, for that moment of like change in someone else. It's really special.
Yeah, I don't know if you've seen Jim Carrey's commencement speech at where he says, you know, the effect you have on others is the most valuable currency there will ever be. That's
Yeah.
not verbatim, but somewhere along that. And that's what really drives me in our community is, you know, to see somebody cross 6 figures of income for the first time when they didn't think it was possible. And then a year later to see them cross high 6 figures, and a year later to see them break into 7 figures, and they're now working 3 days a week. Like that is the most valuable currency in business, hands down. Like those are those stories are what motivate us all to keep moving forward, keep creating, keep giving every day. So I want to talk about, so we've talked a lot about, you know, the course, we've talked about the team. Let's talk about the actual results. So what is a fair expectation for someone? And let's just say, you know, I don't know, well, I don't want to be too specific. Like, what is a fair expectation? The journey is going to be different for every individual. The timeline is going to be different for every individual. But what's that like when you guys sit down to design one thing for many people? What is the target that you have in mind? Like, let's talk about what they could expect to get. Because if someone's sitting here listening as a one marshmallow person going, oh damn, they just called me out, I'm a one marshmallow guy, like, or someone's like, oh, I'm a 2 marshmallow person, like I'll jump right in. Like, you've got to design for both person, like, and that's oversimplifying, but both of those personality types have to be accounted for in your curriculum. So what's the ideal outcome that you guys set as a target so you could reach as many people as possible with this?
Awesome question. So marshmallow 1 or 2, the goal is to set you up with clarity and confidence in your direction. So let me break those down. In each of the elements of the wealth formula, your strategy needs to be clarified. You need to know what your pathway to investable income is. If you don't have any investable income, you got 2 solutions, right? Just to get really into it. You have earn more so that you can then invest with that, or spend less, one or the other. And each person's strategy is different. When you're clear and educated on each of the 4 pillars, the 4 wisdoms, you're able to take action with a degree of confidence. And what holds a lot of people back is, I just don't know. I'm not educated. No one's introduced this theme to me. I've never made a plan. I've never made a budget. I have no direction. And when you start to like enter the world of finance and education, or even just investing, there's a dizzying amount of information. What we help you do is get clear on, this is my strategy. This is my pathway. This is my wealth plan. And the reason we call the course Mapping Your First Million and not Mapping a First Million is that it's got to be personalized. And when you combine personalization with the education, you can craft a very clear plan that gives you confidence. That's one outcome. The second outcome, and probably the more important one connected to mindset and shift, is a support beam and a community that can really rally behind you at every documented step. So that when you get into it, you take your first step and you're on your pathway that's clear and confident, you've got a backbone behind you. You've got support behind you. And introducing people to that by means of a course and community that are paired together. It's the same ethos that you and I share. It's that you're not alone. And if someone can get their plan mapped out for their investable income, what assets fit their needs and their goals, what leverage tactics they have, and what time plays in as a role for that, you can move really fast. Because I'm saying no to these 9 things. This is the one. Less distraction, more action. And, I really struggled for a long time with like, what matters to me? I'm like dizzied by, well, that person, that sounds great. I'm going to go, whoa, that sounds really good. I'm going to go do that because that looks amazing. And wow, this person just made that, like, what? Whoa, Aaron, slow down. Let's get aligned with what matters to you. Let's learn a little bit about the various options, their pros, their cons. Is the cash flow passive? Is it active? Is there a lot of risk? Is there low risk? Do I feel like I need a lot of cash down, or is this something I can leverage? all of those pieces of the strategy require us to ask questions. And if those words are unfamiliar to you, that's where education plays a critical role. Once I got settled, then I could look at, well, here's the vision of what I have for the future. And now what the money allows me to do, and what my income and investable income allows me to do, is to create that vision with a lot of intention. And if you can leave this course clear and confident and with a community, you have the ability to completely revolutionize your entire life and future. I'm confident in that, because I've seen students that come back and they're like, oh my God, I know what I need to do now. The action steps are clear. And there's no better feeling to the currency factor of watching someone go through that epiphany. It's a light bulb. Wow. And the course is designed to provide a light bulb in a multitude of ways. Those are the two things that I look for, though. Are you now clear? And are you now confident?
Awesome. That's a great, there's so many snippets in here that I want to cut out and make a highlight reel to add to the course. Like, no, here's why this exists. I want to end with asking you to make two statements. And for you guys watching, we didn't plan this out. I'm putting him on the spot big time, but accountability is a big part of our relationship, I think. I would like for you to talk directly to the person who, if they've made it this far, thinking, I don't need this. Like, I don't need what this guy is offering. What he said has been interesting enough to keep me here, but I don't need to buy that. I can figure it out. I'm going to do this on my own. And then what you have to say to the person who's enthusiastically wanting to take this course, but they're in a limited mindset right now. And that's a lack mindset of, gosh, I'd love to do this, but if I'll do it, I'll come back to this when I have the money. Like, I want to hear you. I'd like for you to address both of those people. Chances are there will be a time where they'll be watching this. And I think it's good that, we've shared a lot of we've been very transparent about why this exists and what it's for. Have you heard either of us say, hey, we're here to make some quick cash? Like, I'd like to hear you address that person who thinks they don't need what you've made your life's purpose, but also that person who absolutely knows they need it and they feel like it's out of reach right now.
It's a hell of a challenge. I like it. Well, if you're on the side of the other side of the internet lens, and this is a not need, the only justification for that is that you're already beyond the need of this. There's only one reason that you would not need this, and that's you're past it. You've already achieved it. The rationalization for not needing it could be based on fear. Maybe you don't feel worthy. Maybe you don't feel like you're capable of it. And I want to challenge you to recognize that you can build the capabilities to create this kind of life for you. The other need-based observation that I would call out is that we say we don't need something when we feel like there's friction between who I am and who I'm capable of becoming. And when you are stuck in this resistance, that's where you need to lean in. That's the need to lean in. And we're talking about investing to get what you want. If you're like, I don't need this, I can do it on my own. Why would you want to? Why take that much more time? I wouldn't say it's my personal cash. There is a degree of it in there, but we spent $500,000 finding the people that can build a phenomenal pathway for you. It's a shortcut. It's not a shortcut because we're looping you around the long way. It's a shortcut because we've done the work so that you don't have to. And the resistance to that is a really powerful lesson. And I would encourage you to lean into the resistance and say, if it is in fact something I don't need, have I already checked the box at this particular barrier? You cannot escape the barrier. You've got to go through, over or around. This is the moment where you get to make that choice. You can bounce out or you can bounce in, play the game or sit down in the stands. And this is your chance to do that. For the person that is experiencing fear and limitation, the reminder that I will offer you and the bet that I will make. I'll make a bet for you. The first reminder, though, is that in order to get to a place where you can make phenomenal success, where you can create the wealth that you want, you will have to invest more than what we're asking you to invest. You will have to. You'll put down money on a house. You'll invest in an asset. You'll put money into something, into a deal that is at a much higher rate. So you can think of this as practice. If you're afraid that it won't work for you, here's the bet. Go through the course, show me you've done the work. And if it doesn't work for you, I'll find your money back. I know it works that well. And I know that it will change you. And I know that your education level will rise, and therefore your action level will rise with it. The limitation that you have, I understand. I've been there. I've experienced that. The fear is that, I'm taking a big leap here. And I want to invite you to recognize that it's not a big leap or a small leap. It's just a necessary leap so that you can become the person that you want to become. Fear is a real thing. It's the same as the first need. Fear is a real thing. We lean into resistance. And if it's like, man, I'm really going to stretch to make this happen, that is an awesome practice for the next investment where you have to stretch to make it happen. Almost every big investment I've made, I've had to stretch to make it happen. And you don't get good at that without doing it. You have to go and experience this as a baby step towards your future self. It's an investment in your future. This is the asset. You are the asset. So invest in yourself, take some action, and make the bet. And you can reach out to me if for some reason you feel that we as Money Club have underdelivered.
That's awesome. When a course instructor has the courage, though it's not even courage is required when you have something valuable, but when you're willing to make that promise. We've done that in our communities. We've issued 3 refunds ever. And that's just because they weren't even critical of the courses. They realized that it wasn't for them. They wanted to go on the conventional route and go compete with everybody else doing the same thing everybody else was doing. They didn't want to commit to learning, and I gave them their money back because I don't want to take money from people who don't want to improve. There's no way it's going to help either of us. So guys, for the price of a 2022 tank of gas, you've been challenged to actually, take what Aaron just told you. It's taken over $500,000 in resources to compile this group of people and this information together. You can get it for literally the cost of a tank of gas and my pickup. And it can change your life. Like, I'm so proud that I've sold my probate mastery course was sold for $250 in the beginning. And it has made multiple millionaires and all over this country. For $250, people became millionaires, like making over $1 million a year, millionaires, like multi-millionaires. And so no risk. If any of those people would have came to me and said, dude, your course sucked, I didn't get what I wanted from it, I would have handed it back. So as we said in the beginning, Aaron and I, we're walking similar paths. We've got very, if not, almost dead matched on values. I believe in what the change he's trying to create in the world, and I want to support that. But selfishly, I think it's needed in our community. Not everybody is an accredited investor. Not everybody has a healthy mindset around money. It's disappointing to me every time I see a subscription. We offer, you can pay one price for the course, or you can break that up into payments. And every time I see the failed payment from Stripe, I don't think, oh, they screwed me out of my money. Like, I don't think about it like a debt collector. I'm like, damn, I wonder what's going on. Like, why couldn't we get the results fast enough so they could actually easily pay off that credit card bill? And that I turn that into motivation. Every time somebody can't afford the course, or every time they miss a payment, I'm like, now I need to reach down further to help the people who haven't even taken the step where they can sustainably put $500, $600, $700 on a credit card. I still need to get to those people. And that's what this is for me, guys. Like, we only have so much time. We can only be experts in so many areas, rather than me try to reinvent the wheel, what I can do is put the nation's leading expert in this space in front of you, and he can make you a promise that if you don't get what you're here for, you get your money back and you can go try something else. But Aaron, listen, I know you're hosting an event this week, and I want to be respectful and thank you for your time. But I do want to I'll give you one last chance if there's anything you'd like to say in closing, and then we'll let you get back to your event.
God, I'm just grateful to be here. You know, the opportunity to share this is always very welcome. And the encouragement for many that I think is loud is like, hey, you can do it. I'm going to say something very different to get your audience and you tuned in here a bit more dialed in. The you can do this mentality is really important, and you'll need that to get started. The message that is on my heart is you will do this when you decide to do this. Yeah. And at the moment of choice, when you actually feel this internally, when it finally lands and permeates into all that you are, you're like, this is no longer optional. This is simply a choice. That's when your life changes. And I just want to encourage you. I want to challenge you, to welcome you and hold space for you to make that choice. Like, maybe you need 5 minutes. Maybe you already have, you just haven't said it out loud. Vocalize it, say it, and then go, and do not look back for a moment. There will be challenges and bumps and bruises alongside the joy, the exuberance, and the festivities. You choose both. And Chad and I are on the other side waiting to welcome you there. And I can't wait to see what comes from this.
God, probably maybe surprising to some people, I find a lot of inspiration in Mel Robbins. I think she has a very amazing story, and like the person she's become and the impact she has on others is really fun to watch. And she's funny as hell, but she has her 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, make a decision. Yep. But one of the things she said that just, I cannot get out of my head, it's been over 2 years ago. Like, when you're making a hard decision, any decision in general, like, you need to ask yourself one question: does this expand me or does this contract me? So when you make a decision, even if it puts you in a tough place, if the answer is, this would make me a better person, this would make life easier ultimately, I can think longer term on that. Does it expand you and make you more capable, more healthy, more social, or does it contract you? Does that lack of money prevent you from feeding your kids, and then you have a bigger problem because of that? Or is it one more course in addition to the 17 you've already bought that you haven't started? Like, is it the right time? But I would challenge you. So her exercise is, ask yourself that question: does this expand me or contract me? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, decide. So I'll close it out with that. Thanks, Mel Robbins, for that worldly wisdom you've left us with. And Aaron, thank you. Thanks so much for your time, man. I'm happy to be collaborating with you.
Thanks, Chad. Appreciate you, man.